This place has the best chili. Perfect if you're looking to beat a bariatric surgery. I usually go through the drive-thru, but this time I went inside because they forgot my sauces and I was astonished because there was this plus-size man in there causing a little commotion. He wasn't screaming or anything, but he did make a scene. He was upset because they don't sell Pepsi products and he had ordered a significant amount of chili and things he claimed and had nothing to drink it with. Honestly, I was getting a little annoyed from having to wait in line since I just was in their drive-thru waiting and their employees are all stone-faced like they don't want to be there, but they don't deserve to be yelled at making minimum wage. Anyways, enough about that man. I just wanted my sauces, so I could go home, and my experience for today was a little ruined by some man in there acting like he was the king of the world or something. Had a great dining experience. Only exception was a rude bald customer came in screaming, "Look here, look, listen." Staff were very professional in handling this belligerent man. He got angry and left in a salvaged V6 Mustang. Food was hot and fresh, and big ups to the manager who dealt with the overweight Richard. Anyone recognize this man? He robbed me at gunpoint in this Wendy's parking lot. Sorry for low quality pic. I had to zoom in with my phone to get a clear shot. Sped off in a salvaged title V6 Mustang. Overall good food though, although the staff obviously don't want to be there. What's up, pimps? I had a large chili and a large Pepsi. Only complaint was some dude keep screaming about how the Wi-Fi wasn't working. When I asked if he tried appearing offline, he lost his mind, told me to look here, look, listen. Then he screamed that he had a thick 6 then left in a Mustang, but it was only a V6 so it wasn't that cool. I heard the guy who makes the chili's name was Liquid Richard and the chili is phenomenal, so big UPS to Liquid Richard. Nothing like taking your family out to lunch after church. To find a 450-pound man being forced away from eating a large cup full of chili off the ground. My kids didn't need to be called imps and hear a grown man cry that he wasn't going to stop until someone donated $100 to him. Big ups to the management team that helped get him back into his salvaged V6 Mustang. These Jaegers better donate. The wait was terrible, and a pale-skinned man-child in a Richards shirt was screaming about Wendy's chili. I do not recommend this establishment because of said cretin. The food I ordered, a large Pepsi and a large chili, were very good. However, my experience at this establishment was heavily soured after a very large gentleman and his wife entered the restaurant. The man ordered 4 large chilis with 2 large Pepsis for himself but nothing for his poor wife. After he and his wife sat down at a booth, the wife began to silently cry as her husband wolfed down the chili and Pepsi as if they were water. I began to stand up for his wife and calmly requested the man share his chili with his wife. The man got extremely hostile, saying, "Oh my lord, quit sneak dissing." Real talk. My wife will cry at the change of bariatric pressure in the atmosphere. The man and his wife then left in a V6 Mustang. Other than that, I recommend this establishment. Big ups. I love bringing my 2 little girls to this Wendy's for Frosties and fries. However, I'm becoming more and more nervous as a large man continues to aggressively catcall and harass my daughters in the parking lot before going in and coming out. My daughters are both under 12 years old. BTW. He drives a maroon Chevy Silverado truck. After talking with the local police department, I've learned the man's name is Geordie Jordan. His photos have gone viral many times due to being a notorious online child predator. My daughters deserve better. Please ban this sicko from this and all Wendy's restaurants. Beware the chili man. This Wendy's is great. Great food and friendly staff, but this man Richard comes in demanding chili. After harassing the employees, he will then turn to the paternus demanding $10,000 to return to PKA. My experience was ruined by a 500+ lbs local named Geordie Jordan who argued with me about how he thought National Socialism should be in America. Ban him. Real talk. Big ups Wendy's of Conway. Kelly got blacked and you know it, Tyrone. Big up Liquid Richard. This location could be much quicker. The main holdup is the manager Richard. Real talk. His 450 pounds of solid muscle body can barely fit through the back. I have noticed that he blocks the drive-through window often. Along with this issue, he likes to say thanks for the 16 elo. Rather inappropriate. Richard is great with kids though. He let my son take a picture of him. Be better if the guy in his V6 Mustang would stop yelling racial slurs and throwing his PS4 controller at my gay son. There is always a crummy V6 Mustang double parked. Poorly. An amazing establishment I happened upon during an out-of-state travel. The burger and fries were not bad, and were okay for what it was. However, on this day a rather large man somewhere between 450-500 pounds busted outside of the bathroom and shouted that one came out sideways from the back of the kitchen. Someone shouted, "Please Jordan, we're running out of chili. We don't have much left," he said. "Oh my lord. Come on," and out of nowhere a PlayStation controller flew and ricocheted a few times. Anyway, the food was good. Big ups. I was enjoying my Dave's double with a Pepsi and a side of chili when a 450-pound man came peeling into the parking lot in a brand new Ford Raptor. He kept yelling at the employees, telling them to look here. Listen, after he had to wait in line to get his order, he began causing a scene, exclaiming that the chili was too cold for his liking. He started to whimper and cry uncontrollably. Then with a fit of rage he yelled out HAAOHH Malo 0 ord, throwing the chili against the wall like a PS4 controller. I left immediately. The staff were amazing. Good food. However, I was sat with my family for our weekly fast food outing when a 450-pound man came barging in. He exclaimed that he was with DoorDash. The man grabbed his bag off the counter and immediately ripped it open. He looked inside and started saying things like, "I know it's there. I smell it, player." He then pulled out a side portion of chili from the bag and proceeded to go into what can only be described as a frenzy. He opened the bowl and poured it into his mouth. After finishing it off, he exclaimed, "Someone better get some more before I whip out this thick six." It was then that I ushered my family out of the establishment. As I was standing in line to order my food, I made eye contact with a fairly large man in front of me. I smiled at him and said, "Hello, how are you?" and he curtly replied, "I'm not here to conversate," before turning around and muttering something about waiting too long for his chili and Pepsi. He subsequently put in a massive order of Wendy's chili and Pepsi. He wanted so much he couldn't carry it back to his car and he started screaming, "Where's my help?" At which point a large woman came and helped him. Came to this restaurant to enjoy a quick meal only to find a huge nearly 500-pound man holding up the line for a ridiculously large order of chili. I politely tell the man that his order is too big and is holding up the line. His bizarre response to one of the workers was "Ban Hasbullah" for sneak dissing. In my confusion, I try to calmly talk to this man who calls himself Richard, but he goes into a fit of rage and starts going on about, "Look here, look, listen. Appearing offline doesn't stop it." Real talk, although Wendy's is not responsible for the type of customers they get, this was surely one of the weirdest experience I've had. I recently visited this particular location on my way back from vacation. I'm raising another man's kids for love and I sat down with my wife and stepchildren to eat a large chili when this 426-pound man came running into the restaurant screaming about how he can't beat those snipers, man. We were startled when he began yelling that his name isn't Richard. A few minutes later someone named Aaron walked in and ordered a Dave's triple and then refused the order, exclaiming that his words were taken out of context. We waited until the large man left in his V6 salvage titled Mustang that squatted heavily on the driver's side, and we left going in the opposite direction. Conway is a fun place. Hands down the best Wendy's experience I have ever had, besides the 400-pound man who called himself Richard talking about yeagers and how Wendy's shouldn't have salad near his chili or he'll plan out a mass shooting. Anyways, great experience. Food and prices is great. My only issue was a gentleman of size constantly harassing the customers trying to sell us vacuum cleaner parts. Some people were annoyed enough that they left, after which this man ate all their leftovers. This was good and all until he stumbled upon a leftover salad. This caused him to sob and whimper uncontrollably. When an employee tried to calm him down, all he said was, "Look here, dude. I hope your family dies in an automobile wreck." I hope this encounter was an isolated incident in this fine establishment. I was recommended to go to this Wendy's from some folks from the Lion's Den. They told me if I waited long enough I would see the Conway National Socialist named Richard. After about 2 minutes of waiting, I wasn't disappointed. Richard came in with a large dent in his head and ordered 2 oil drums of chili and all the Pepsi. The worst part about the whole experience was the smell coming from someone he kept referring to as Keller. I purposely had to keep my COVID mask on so I could breathe. Big ups for an interesting experience at this particular Wendy's. I was enjoying my meal when I witnessed a grotesquely overweight white male barge into the store in a rage, screaming at the top of his lungs something about someone named Liquid Richard. The employees didn't flinch, so I assumed this was normal behavior in Conway SE and continued on with my lunch. Then without warning, he filled a 2-liter up with that sweet Wendy's chili and said something about the age of consent should be 12. That was enough for me and I left as fast as possible. Great service and food. However, I was put off from returning because of the grotesque 450-pound man behind me in the queue who, after learning I just ordered the last Pepsi in the building, had to leave the establishment and I think inform his dog, as all I could hear outside were whimpers and about how he just wanted it so freaking bad. He must be a local as everyone knew him by Richard. The meal was great. I always love a fresh salad from Wendy. There is a large 475-pound man lurking in the parking lot. He is very hostile unless you are driving a $100,000 truck. He is severely mentally ill, so avoid eye contact and enter the store as quickly as possible. If you happen to stop and speak to him, he will attempt to bully you from his mobility scooter about your truck being a V6 or your Honda being a 4-cylinder. One of the most bizarre experiences I've ever encountered. A man well over 475 pounds drinking a 2L of Pepsi with a white shirt that looks like it has not been washed in months, attempting to bully me about my vehicle. The bizarre man constantly repeats that I should have bought a Ford Raptor. Fun fact, this is famous streamer Wings of Redemption's favorite spot. He has downed 6,700 gallons of chili. Really talk. Couldn't look at the menu cause a 400 plus lb man was blocking my view. So yesterday I walked in and believe it or not I saw a 450-pound dude who could barely walk and he was screaming at an employee, "Look here, look, listen." And then out of nowhere he threw a PS4 controller at them and he asked for chili. Real talk. Other than that it was great. By the way, shout out Sean Ranklin, Wings 007, Lummox a hired hoodlum, MR Yolo Dick Swagger, Wings Tings V4, and the Wriggler. Also a big shout out to Banquet Meals. My boyfriend, Richard, takes me here all the time to get away from his wife. Their chili and fries are my favorite. A big plus is that their drive-thru has plenty of room for his 2022 Ford Raptor. It's a fine place, if you exclude one National Socialist named Richard Sam Jordan who whimpers about not having enough donations to buy a Ford Raptor. Big ups Liquid Richard. It's finger sniffing good. Amazing service from Sam and Bernie. My friend Kyle told me about an item on the secret menu for those that like to save money on their great chili. If you ask for a Liquid Richard they will fill a large soda cup with chili and it costs the same as a normal one. Perfect for my diet after having gastric bypass surgery. Look here, look, listen, they have good chili and Pepsi. Came here just to get some food and this white large whale-side man with his wife complaining how the Pepsi was out and they wouldn't let him buy all the chili in the store. Then Richard decided to threaten Bob the cashier and told him welcome to Ban World, then threw a controller at him. Kelly his wife decided to yell at Kyle the cook about the secret Discord she has. Then Richard and Kelly hobbled out in their salvaged V6 Mustang and the left side was so low it was scraping the asphalt creating massive amount of sparks and hit a couple of customers. And as they left Richard screamed that the age of consent should be 12. Other than that my service was great. I ordered the chili with the side of finger sniffers and asked them to keep the lid on tight. Wonderful dining experience. If you forget about the grotesque 450-pound man by the name of Richard who likes to lurk in the corners of the establishment. Me and my family sat down to order a 4 and Richard came up to us, exclaiming with great rage about how he would pistol whip me and make my daughter his personal slave if we didn't share our chili with him. We ended up having to oblige, and sharing our chili with the foul beast seemed to be satiated, sucking the whole thing down with a straw in under 30 seconds before running to the restroom screaming, "This one's coming out sideways." A wonderful experience. I wish the staff would do something about this man though. Big ups. Look here. Look, listen. Pretty standard Wendy's if I must say. Drive-thru was quick, and food was hot, but I heard, through the drive-thru window, a man inside screaming about DoorDash orders and cold chili. Beware of the locals. I feel sorry for the staff. When I went in to get some food today there was a heavily obese white man who was shouting at them for not giving him 201 of Pepsi. He was shouting, "Look here, look, listen," and they seemed confused. Should they look? Should they listen? He then got out what looked like an Xbox controller and smashed it over his head before crying and speeding off in a very noisy car. It was generally pleasant and the food was decent. However, my experience was ruined by a large man across from me, easily weighing over 400 pounds munching down lots of chili. He was raising his voice with swearing while on his laptop. Something about an installed app needing a stable Wi-Fi connection to work. I politely said maybe going offline or putting his computer into airplane mode might boot it up. Guess that was a bad idea because he began to scream a tirade at me. "Look here, look, listen. Appearing offline does not stop it, so stop giving advice you know nothing about." Literally everyone looked over at him and stared. The manager politely told him to leave and called him Richard. "Must be a regular customer then." Richard replied, "Yeah, whatever, I hope your family dies in an automobile wreck." Very slowly moving to the exit and eventually getting into his Mustang parked outside. Very rude man. Real talk. I come here often when I run out of banquet meals, as recommended by our local vacuum parts salesman, Richard. The chili is finger sniffing good. It really helps me beat my bariatric surgery. Shout out Sean Ranklin. I came here all the way from Ohio in my Rouch 150 pounds on recommendation of the chili, and boy was I not disappointed. Much better than the disgusting batch made by Woodie's wife. Only 4 stars because they told me there was no Pepsi. But when I went to go use the bathroom I noticed a large man in the only stall. Since I really had to go sideways log, I looked under the stall to see Richard drinking all the boxed Pepsi syrups with a straw. When he saw me we started talking about National Socialism for a while. Definitely worth the try. So I came into this fine establishment looking to procure myself a fine cup of Wendy's signature chili. However, they were out. As I expressed my disgust and began to walk out, I spotted in the corner of my eye a woman of a portly size getting blacked in the corner of the store. I was later told by my good friend Richard McGravy Samuelson Jordan that it was his girlfriend Brandy. It was then my unenviable duty to inform Richard that Brandy got blacked. I tell you, he was crying so terribly I mistook his cries for dog whimpering at some points. Anyways, 5 stars for the fantastic chili. Keep it up, Wendy's. The food was delicious and promptly delivered. I ordered a grilled chicken sandwich, a large fries, and some Coke to wash it all down. The only issue was that when I got my fries I noticed that half of the container of fries was missing. When I looked up I saw this large bald man with a nameplate saying Richard behind the till, who appeared to have some fries in his hand and was jamming it in his mouth. After he finished I said, "Hey man, did you eat the half of my fries?" He replied with, "Look here, look, listen, I didn't eat nothing." I decided to give him the benefit of doubt and left to eat my meal. As I was coming in, a very large man was smelling his fingers outside while shouting, "Look here, look, listen." He's probably homeless. He smelled like it. He said his name was Richard and he was begging for money while making this strange whimper sound. I reminded him that job applications are free and went in for my food. I had to eat my burger and soggy fries while looking at this disgusting sight. I love this Wendy's for sure. The customer service and food always rocks. The only thing that bothers me is that there is always this large round fat man with his wife who is always trying to sell us vacuum parts from his shop called Sucking Sam's, and he always seems to order a Wendy's chili to go. Strange man. The overall experience was great, although they were out of chili. Apparently the rotund fellow outside has ordered the last cup. After finishing my meal, I walked outside and the aforementioned portly fellow was leaning up against a 2021 Ford Raptor with a sinking suspension on the driver's side. As I moved past him I couldn't help but overhear him saying something to the effect of, "Grandma, don't criticize my skill, also ban anyone trying to give me life advice, I don't want it." I asked him what has made him so perturbed and he barked back, "Look here, look, listen, Gustavo, stick to Call of Duty. That should be more your speed. Now leave me alone so I can sip my Wendy's chili and eat my chicken tendies." Odd. I don't visit this Wendy's location no more after what I saw inside. A man on the larger size was touching different surfaces with his hands, then sniffed his fingers. He would do this over and over again. My son even told me in the bathroom the man was touching the stall door then began sniffing his fingers. Truly disgusted by this man. The food here is great, although the staff seems to have done nothing about a local obese white male named Richard who consistently begs and pleads for a small Wendy's chili outside of the establishment. Every time I have gone there for a crispy chicken sandwich, I see him loitering outside, telling me to look here, look, listen, staff, please do something about this man. He is a creep and is always asking for donations and subscribers. I stopped by as I was passing through. Have to leave a review to thank all the staff that helped me. Whilst in the restaurant and I went to order and a large 450 pounds man straight barged in front and started screaming about chili. When I confronted the large aggressive man, called Richard apparently, he shouted, "Look here, listen." He then screamed at staff to ban me and went off on a tirade about how if the mods did their job properly, I wouldn't be here, sneaked us in. The staff managed to subdue him by showing him a large gallon bucket of chili which they used to lure him to his wonky truck. The staff were great in helping us, but said this is an unfortunate daily recurrence, which meant chili and Pepsi must never be low in stock or he would have a disaster stream. Finally, when leaving, the man named Richard drove past me in the car park and screamed, "Welcome to Ban World, buddy," and left with screeching tires. His partner seemed to be crying in the passenger seat. Look here, look, listen. The chili is fire, real talk. Shout out Liquid Richard and big ups Sean Ranklin. One of my good friends Richard Jordan told me about how this Wendy's has phenomenal chili and Pepsi, and man was that an understatement. I loved the chili so much that I trapped my grandmother under a bucket and left her there for a while, then I collected the life insurance money, and I now am in the process of getting all the blood in my body replaced with chili. This is the only Wendy's I know that sells chili by the gallon. Look here, listen. It's finger sniffing good. My Uncle Jay, bless his heart, has been attempting to apply for a position here, but they keep turning down our applications. I am well aware that he would be more of a liability than an asset or resource. With that in mind, we offered that he get paid under the table, via Wendy's Chili's, but the manager told us to get the H out. Not an equal opportunity employer. Best chili in the world. My buddy Richard told me about this spot. Food was fine. The fried were a little cold. However, one of their employees kept trying to push a vacuum repair business called Suckin' Sam's, which in itself was really annoying. But what's worse is the parts never came after I ordered. If you're ever in town, out of banquet meals and just dying for some chili and a Pepsi, not Diet Pepsi, but I will drink Diet if somebody drank all my regular Pepsi. Look here and listen to the rest of the amazing reviews. The manager's name is Richard. Make sure ask to speak with him. He is a real delight. I think he also fixes vacuums too, which is a bonus. Not only has he beaten weight loss surgery, but he also has a banger of a V6 Mustang that he got for no more than $13,000, which is a steal. Almost literally. It was so nice visiting. Big ups, Liquid Richard. Thank you for 16 yellow. I would write a longer review, but I'm not here to conversate. Ban anyone who doesn't like their chili. Wonderful establishment. A little disappointed today. A large man claiming his name wasn't Richard was whimpering that his PSN was hacked and suspended. He proceeded to buy all the chili in the restaurant. The employees apologized and gave me a rain check coupon for a cup of chili. I have had a history with this specific establishment which delivered a positive experience every time. However, on my most recent visit with my daughter, my experience was quite unpleasant. I left to go to the bathroom, and when I came back to my table there was an individual who called himself Richard shoveling our food into his mouth while he made several unwanted advances towards my daughter. He then proceeded to threaten to bust my face in with a pistol grip, and then went on to throw a Sony PlayStation DualShock 4 controller at a member of staff for not giving him his bucket of Pepsi he ordered. The entire establishment shook as Richard walked 30 feet to the exit and stopped to catch his breath. It took him about half an hour before he managed to get into his vehicle. He then reversed his salvage model V6 Mustang into 3 separate vehicles, causing minor damages before he drove off into the distance. Real talk, this establishment is amazing. Serving the finest chili I've ever had. Big ups to the extremely friendly employees too. Richard, Sam and Bernie made my experience wonderful. Look here, look, listen. World famous chili. Real talk. The kind of place a guy takes his V6 Mustang. The locals say that there are troll sightings here if you're lucky enough. I was served by a heavy-set gentleman named Richard Von Wingeroni and cheese Pepsistine the V4th, and he wished my family passed away in a car crash. Like real talk. Honestly don't know why he wished something so awful on me, and their chili was not as good as usual. Fantastic chili. My buddy Taylor and I just came from Sucking Sam's vacuum repair shop and had the best dinner. We couldn't use the toilet though. Manager said someone had one go sideways. Drove through in my Mustang. It's a V6. Took the cat in my car and put a bucket on his head. Bought 12 tubs of chili, so I've got enough to go home and play Diablo 2 to bore everyone to tears with my YouTube stream. Out of all the Wendy's in Conway, I would say this one makes the best chili. Very rarely does it have any teeth in it. I prefer to eat my chili by using my mouth, but when my favorite worker Richard is there, he is so kind to help me inject the chili into my veins. 4 stars. I wish he used cleaner needles. A rather large man with glasses confronted my family saying to look here, look, listen. Repeated over and over. When asked what was wrong, he said he didn't want to conversate. Very concerning when all I wanted was some Wendy's piping hot chili. Food was decent but customer service was subpar. A rather large man behind the counter was whimpering about how all he wanted to do was stream and have a good time, have a good game, but he was stuck at work. Snapped a picture just before leaving. Crazy place. Look here, look, listen. This is Samuel von McChilisteinville, a local Wendy's chili outlet. Be careful around here. If he knows you are drinking his Pepsis or ordering too much chili, he'll come for you in his 4-banger Mustang. Look here, listen. Wendy's isn't supposed to run out of chili. Good staff though. Came here on recommendation of local vacuum repair shop owner, Richard McGravy. Was told it was the best establishment in which to beat bariatric surgery. Fantastic chili. I was passing through here on my way to Myrtle Beach and I decided to go into the drive-thru to order some Baconator fries for the road. I pulled behind a red V6 Mustang that seems to be lowered on the left side and the driver was outraged because the place didn't have the 30 gallons of chili he wanted. I honked at him and he slowly got out of the Mustang and went to my truck window and said, "Look here, look, listen, if you honk at me again, I will ban you from my chat." He then threw a PS4 controller into my truck. When he finally got all of his chili he screamed out his window, "Conway Conman strikes again." He speeds off with all of his chili and Pepsi spilling out of his open trunk and onto the road. Other than that, I had a good experience and the fries were good. Look here, look, listen. This here is the best Wendy's ever here. Usually have a good experience at this Wendy's location, but today was a little different. A large man named Richard, who others seem to have encountered here as well, was walking in and completely missed the yellow wet floor sign. He ended up falling down and immediately shouted, "Where's my help? Where's Ash?" Watching him on his back like a turtle yelling at the top of his lungs made me uncomfortable. I may have to start going to the other location. A great location with exceptional food and service. I always make it a point to take my little brother Sam up here when I'm in town visiting since the chili is his favorite. He has autism so he can be a tad emotional and overwhelmed when he gets his chili, but the staff were very accommodating to Sam's needs. Big ups Wendy of Conway. The employees were spreading a rumor of a 450-pound man called Richard Pepsi Banquet. Listen, the flying diet 14 inches about him stealing $13,000 from people to get a surgery when really he wanted to get an iPhone. They also see a kid and an adult named Carlito and Webby giving the manager info about a conman of Conway. I have never been met with more professionalism and courtesy than in this establishment. Unfortunately, when I tried to order some chili for myself and my family, a rather unappetizing fellow who called himself Geordie Jordan threatened to shoot me in the kneecaps. Fearing for the life of my family, I quickly left the premises with them and called the local police. I hope this local brute was apprehended, so that he does not pose any more danger, especially to the local children. I was waiting in the drive-thru and I saw a man in a truck arguing with an employee that the chili he got was cold. The man then yelled and said that he had to go stream and threw the chili on the floor. He made a point of letting everyone know he was losing weight. Great food and service, but as I was ordering, a large stinky man told me to hurry up. "We'll talk." I told him to wait his turn and he then said, "That's it, off to Banworld with you." He didn't do anything or say anything else to me after that. Overall good staff and good though. My girlfriend Brandy and I really enjoyed the food here. I just wish we had a chance to try their chili. I hear it's pretty good. There was also unfortunately no Pepsi in stock, which is a shame because it's my favorite beverage. Real talk. My only complaint is there was a very obnoxious fellow by the name of Richard who was begging for donations from me. When I told him I had just spent the last of my money, he called me a troll and threatened to ban me. Big ups Liquid Richard, he'll beat your teeth in with a pistol grip. Real talk. Great food, but some 450-pound slob got stuck in the door and we had to survive off stale chili for a week. Yuck. If you consider going, use the drive-thru because this man seems to be a regular occurrence and harasses customers, calling them trolls. Really enjoyed the food here, but my time was almost ruined by a man, about 450 pounds, who I think his name was Richard, IDK. He was complaining about the chili and then turned to me and asked why I was staring at. He then threatened to pistol whip me. When I was about to leave, he then stopped me and asked to talk. I got into my 1985 Blazer while ignoring him, so he stormed off to his red Ford. Also, why was there no more Pepsi? Only giving 4 stars because when I was leaving the establishment with my 2 to-go bowls of chili for my girlfriend and I seen a V6 Mustang swerve out in front of me screaming, "Look here. Look, listen, that chili belongs to me." As he attempted to get out of the car, I simply walked away at a brisk pace as I watched the 450-pound man fail to leave this V6 Mustang with his solid piece of muscle. The chili was probably the best chili I have ever eaten. Big ups Wendy's. Was passing through and saw Wendy's, had to say can always expect a consistently good burger from here. Sadly, as I was pulling into the drive-thru and I was cut off by a man driving a Mustang, he flicked me off and screamed the Conway conman gets his chili. Saw him pull up to window and get, from what I can see, a large cup of soda filled with chili. I was disgusted and appalled. Although the burger I had ordered was good, I don't think he'll ever visit this Wendy's again due the Conway conman being a regular customer here. According to the employees, staff was pretty friendly, the food was good, and the store was clean. However, there was a man in a corner of the restaurant by the name of Richard McGravy with a bucket of chili. He called me over and asked if I wanted to purchase vacuum parts. I declined, and he hawked down the entire bucket, then wordlessly walked out to his truck. Overall an enjoyable and horrifying experience. Will return. Excellent dining experience. Unfortunately, my daughter and I were accosted by a very large gentleman complaining about the lack of chili, as the staff had seemingly run out. The man then offered to play some sort of video games with my daughter. She was 14 at the time, while huffing and puffing about someone named Sean Ranklin. I quickly escorted my daughter out of the establishment, but not before the large man slammed his hand on the counter, causing the building to rumble. Big ups. Amazing hamburgers. However, since they hired that fairly large gentleman behind the counter, it would appear the hamburger patties are no longer square. Instead, they appear to be this misshapen circle, almost like someone is eating the corners off. Nonetheless, the experience was amazing. They were out of Pepsi that day, so I had to settle for the only beverage they had left in the store, which was water. The before mentioned fairly large gentleman would not even touch the container for the water. Overall, an excellent experience. Would recommend to anyone looking for a great Wendy's. Jordy enjoyed his chili. Real talk. If you plan on getting bariatric surgery, this is the place to eat if you wanna keep that solid piece of muscle. The chili really does help get the strength back. 1010. Food was alright. Compelled me to sniff my fingers, especially the chili. But a very big fat man stumbled towards me, calling me a troll and kept telling me that he isn't Richard and how I was sneak dissing. This was a very frightening experience, as he then started yelling about beating me with a pistol grip and destroying my face. He then also asked the staff to send me to the ban world, as I had apparently been sneak dissing all night. All in all, big ups my finger sniffing homies. The secret to getting the chili is to get there in the drive-thru before open, at 6 a.m. If you get there too late, Richard will have come in and gotten it all. The chili, however, is absolutely divine when you actually get some. Every time I go through this drive-thru, they always notify me that they are fresh out of chili and Pepsi. This has happened on 4 separate occasions now. The only thing that is weird is that every time this happens, I always see a red Mustang peeling out of the parking lot. Other than that, it's a great place. The chili was on par with a banquet meal. Needs more carbs. The staff was friendly and the food was good, but when I went in to order, there was this giant 450-pound man standing behind me yelling at me to look here and listen. Apparently he didn't like that I ordered his chili and that he needed all of the gallons of chili to go. He drove a red V6 Mustang, I think. He was very rude to the nice staff and made his wife carry all of the buckets of chili. He said he'd pistol whip me and ban me if I told anyone. I went to this fine establishment and got the best bowl of chili I've ever had. They even had entertainment. They had a 450-pound man standing at the counter pretending to be angry. He was standing at the counter screaming, "Look here, listen," and begging the cashier to give him all the money in the cash register to get weight loss surgery in Mexico. It was a nice meal with a great show. Would recommend. Amazing food as always. Service was nice. My friend Jordy drove me there and man, he loves your chili. After we got our food, he gave me that love stare and said, "Look here, look, listen," as he drank the chili like it was water on a hot summer day. He then burped and muttered, "Reminds me of my friend Kyle." Real talk. Not sure what he meant by that, but he seemed happy. Will never ever come to this fast food restaurant again. I ordered a Wendy's chili to see what's all the fuss was all about. Well, I didn't get to taste it. A 450-pound man called Liquid Richard and his lover called Skyle started to scream profanity at me and proceed to take my Wendy chili. Please someone send this to PKA. Great cuisine. Beats every banquet meal you'll ever eat more than once. Met Richard there and he mentioned to not tattletale to the smelly jelly. The food was good, the service was good. The only complaint I have is that there was a 450-pound man in the parking lot trying to scam me out of $13K by telling me to buy his salvaged V6 Mustang. When I told him I wasn't interested, he threatened to beat my teeth in with a pistol grip. Constantly out of chili and Pepsi for some reason. Ordered a gallon of chili, loved it so much I got 5 of 'em. Real talk. Great chili and Pepsi. Brandy is my favorite. Shout out to my good friends Sean Ranklin and Zbottle for telling me about this fine establishment. Stop coming here. Sadly last night I had to go to the ER due to gastritis from Wendy's chili. I'm going though, a life-changing surgery here soon. Save yourself and eat healthy. Real talk. Every time I show up here there's never any chili or Pepsi. I don't know why, but I think that the great big hefty fellow in the red Ford Raptor might have something to do with it. I think his name might be Samuel or Richard, I'm not sure. I took my family over to Wendy's for some dinner, but after I entered a parking lot I found a V6 Mustang with no lumbar support parked in middle of the parking lot, literally not in a bay or anything but literally just in middle of the parking lot. Went inside to find a large man yelling at the staff for not filling his chili to the brim. What made it worse is they gave him Diet Pepsi. He kept yelling how the trolls took all of his Pepsi and that they supported Sean Ranklin. Not impressed. They never have any chili. They never have any Pepsi. There is always a V6 Mustang double parked. Poorly. I see this man in there named Richard, with his wife Smelly Kelly. They were yelling at the staff and calling them trolls over a DoorDash order. I believe the couple ate it. Honestly. I was enjoying a meal with my family when a large grotesque man stumbled into the store. He had numerous stains on his shirt which advertised Richard's vacuum parts. With all of this given, the man attempted to sell vacuum parts for banquets and chili. Eventually, when his unprofessional way of doing business didn't succeed, he stormed out of the store proclaiming, "See y'all in Banworld." Other than that, service was good. I ordered a chili in the drive, though I was told they ran out. And when I came to the window it was Richard with a mouthful of chili in the kitchen, and all the employees started recording LOL. They were out of chili, and the Pepsi machine was down. Otherwise I had a great experience. Had me a 4x4 and sat down with a nice man locals call the Conway Conman. He drove a 2019 Ford Raptor and pulled his wife around on a leash. He spoke to me about his time in the military, and I looked and listened. If anyone sees this man, tell him to appear offline. I watched a guy stuff a cat under a bucket in the parking lot, then proceed to set on the bucket and chug chili straight from the container. He seemed to be rambling about how the seats in his Mustang were too uncomfortable, that's why he has the bucket. Still gave it 4 stars since my fries were fresh and they gave me a free Frosty to not acknowledge the man on the bucket. Shout out Sean Ranklin, Lord of the Wings, Lummox, Lean, Conway Conman, Gulag Kingpin, and who can forget Geordie Von Richard J. Chillable Jordan of the Zeppelin Division. I had an amazing meal. However, when I finished it a large man started yelling at me, "Look, listen here and welcome to Ban World." I backed off to follow him to his black Ford F-150 Raptor to take a picture of his plate. I love Wendy's chili. Nice to see that there were a lot of hoodlums at this location. I was enjoying a large bowl of chili at my table, same as always, until a 450-pound man who presumably goes by the name of Richard started yelling at me. He was rambling on about how appearing offline does not stop it and I hope your family dies in an automobile wreck. And then the man proceeds to steal my chili. He drives a red V6 Mustang. If you see this man, please let me know. This location was recommended by my friend Richard. He spoke nothing but good words about your establishment. He recommended I try the chili. He said it got him through his surgery that he got down in Mexico, was key to his recovery, and helped him overcome it. I think my hoodlums and I will be coming back more often. Your cashier Sean Ranklin was extremely helpful in assisting me. You see, I'm a 450-pound man who has trouble going through doorways, so I had to turn sideways to enter, but Sean helped me through the process. Big ups, 5 out of 5. Big ups to all the troll channels. Fantastic service. It would have been better had I not noticed that, while waiting in line, I hear someone sigh really loudly from behind me, only to see some 450-pound man rubbing his nose really hard, complaining how Wendy's isn't supposed to rub out of chili. Then, he went to the counter and said, "Look here, listen," before going off on a tandem about appearing offline or something. Fearing for my safety, I sat at one of the booths near the restroom, only for this man, presumably Richard since he was called Richard and then insisted that his name wasn't, came barreling into the bathroom screaming at the top of its lungs about how this one's coming out sideways. All in all, great food, but my personal experience was a little bit perplexing. Good job. Excellent service. However, I and my family couldn't help but notice the 450-pound man screaming and flailing his arms around, going on and on about how a Wendy's isn't supposed to run out of chili and how his name was not Richard. We decided to seek safety in the restroom, but the big meaty mongrel barreled into the bathroom with us and started screaming at the top of its lungs about how this one's coming out sideways. All in all, a wonderful dining experience, with a nice touch of added danger and risk from the Richard who always seems to be hanging about. Big ups. So I arrived in Conway to meet my friend called Jimmy John. Upon arrival, he immediately took me to this establishment. Upon entering, I was immediately singled out by the manager, Richard Samuel. He told me to try the wings. The wings were pretty depressed looking but had lots of meat on the bones. To get the most out of this menu, you really have to look and listen to what the chili manager has to say. I've heard rumors of him banning over 15,000 people from his store, and routinely threatens to beat little kids' teeth in with pistol grips. He was also caught attempting to rob a 7-Eleven with his wife, Kelly Modbang. I'm only giving it a 5-star cause of the enjoyment this establishment has given me watching it suffer. Great service. Although, while waiting in the drive-thru, some large man in a V6 Mustang with black racing stripe was honking and legitimately crying about how he really need this chili and how he already has $500 in chargebacks already. I was very confused. I really enjoy meeting weekly for the Hoodlums group to discuss our work for watching whales. Well, one whale at least. Big ups Lummox. I'm not sure where to post this, so I'll do it here. Recently I ordered 2 Baconators, fries and 2 bowls of chili and 2 large Pepsis for me and my wife from DoorDash. To my dismay, when I received the order, both of the chili bowls and large Pepsis were gone. I, of course, called the delivery driver, Richard Samuel Jordan V, at least from what the DoorDash app told me, out on this, in which he replied, "I'm not here to conversate, man," and waddled off my front porch to speed away in a silver 2004 Ford Focus. He was a rather large man looking to be around 450 plus pounds with a chinstrap beard. Really sad that DoorDash drivers are allowed to steal food with almost no repercussions. The rest of the food was delicious though. Look here, look, listen. Mods ban these employees who don't make 40 gallons of chili a day. They are always out of chili here because some man named Richard Samuelstein Geordie Jordanson V keeps coming here 7 times a day, ordering all the chili and demanding they serve him Pepsi. He sometimes also brings banquet meals here too. Shout out Sean Ranklin. I usually enjoy my Wendy's experience. I always come for the Wendy's chili, except the last few times I have been in, they have been out of chili. It seems that a local man, by the name of Richard, who drives a sick V6 red Mustang W black racing stripe, continuously buys out their supply in gallon barrels. Fantastic place. The staff are always friendly. However, one day I was ordering and I heard a big sigh right behind me. I turned around to some 450 ibs man with his 230 pounds wife. I could hear him mumbling under his breath something about trolls and Sean Ranklin. The worker asked if he liked fries and his response was not here to conversate, man. It looked like the woman was pretty scared. She had bruises on her left arm. Also, it looked like the large man was aggressively sniffing his fingers and made some weird whimper sound after he got his order. I had a wonderful experience at this location other than an encounter with an obese local man apparently named Richard. It was near closing time and this Richard fellow attempted to order several gallons of chili only to be told that the store had run out for the day. Upon hearing this, Richard flew into a rage, talking about how he was going to beat the employee's teeth in with a pistol grip and such. He then walked over to my table and straight up stole my 6-year-old son's small chili right off his tray. When my son tried to say something, he screamed, "Shut the up dude, you're a little kid," waddled out of the restaurant and drove off in his red V4 Mustang with a black racing stripe. The city of Conway needs to do something about this guy. I feel terrible for the poor employees that probably live in terror of him. I was eating lunch with my children and out of nowhere this very large man came into the building demanding a chili bowl and began screaming, "Look here, listen." He then began to throw PS4 controllers at me and my children. I'm only giving 3 stars because the fine young gentleman named Tyrone was very nice to my wife Kat. However, my experience at this location was terrible otherwise, as I went in hoping to get a nice big cup of chili only for Tyrone to tell me that some guy named Richard had eaten it all. Bugged chili mechanics dude. 4 out of 5 stars. The reason being was while I was in the bathroom a 450-pound man entered. Me knowing, he quickly went to one of the stalls and mentioned something about another one stuck sideways and kept saying, "I need to call Kelly." I was so speechless at what I had listened to that I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes until I saw him and this Kelly person, who had gloves on, hop in a Ford Raptor "I support National Socialism" flag on the back. All around it was a great experience. Great food as always. But my dining experience was interrupted by a 450-pound man calling himself Liquid Richard. He screeched into the parking lot in his salvaged V6 Mustang. He started screaming, "Look here and look listen," when ordering his chili. The staff seemed shell-shocked like it was a regular occurrence. Once his coveted chili was in his hands, he looked at the cashier dead in the eye and shouted, "I hope your family dies in an automobile wreck," and left blaming someone called Sean Ranklin. I think he is a famous Conway celebrity, but who knows. These guys are always sold out of chili somehow. It's a Wendy's. How do they run out of chili? Some local celebrity named Richard constantly drains this store of their chili supply. Please tell Richard he needs to be more considerate of other guests here. Like try appearing offline. Otherwise please ban him. Save some chili for the rest of us. Richard. Every time I go here the same 450-pound dude that can barely walk is here ordering all the chili. I haven't been able to get chili because of this man. The food and customer service was great. But this man called Richard, according to the locals, came in and started yelling racial slurs and homophobic slurs at fellow customers. He demanded all the chili and Pepsi in stock. He then proceeded to start ranting about trolls and appearing offline. He then burst into tears and started demanding that Gulag Kingpin debate me and Kelly, whatever that meant. He then left in a broken V6 Mustang. Food was tasty but the experience wasn't the greatest. This 450-pound man on steroids driving a school bus through the drive-thru with a bunch of children in there was screaming and yelling, "I hope your family dies in an automobile wreck." He called himself Liquid Richard. Just be aware of the people on Conway. Sigh. Rock bottom. This establishment frequently runs out of Pepsi, soda and chili. One of the employees told me that a regular customer named Geordie Jordan comes through 3 times a day and wipes out their stock. All I wanted was to eat some chili, man. I wanted it so bad. I walked in for a chili. The food and service are all great. However, the experience was dampened a bit by a regular customer who is apparently called Richard McGravey Samuel. He was a very large man, about 450 pounds and can barely walk. He was angry about the lack of Pepsi and had to drink Diet Pepsi instead. Things got heated when he started yelling racial slurs at the staff and threatened to beat them with a maglite for threatening his livelihood. I told him to calm down, but he said he'd beat me with a pistol grip until my teeth fell out my head. Before leaving, he exclaimed, "Welcome to Ban World. Population. If you ever see this man, stay far away. He is a menace to the fine people of Conway." Real talk. Real talk. This Wendy's is straight fire, son. They got delicious food, a very clean store, and great service. However, every time I've been there on my way to get to Myrtle Beach, there is a very contentious customer that hangs around there. He was very large, around 450-500 pounds if I had to guess, and made the suspension in his brand new looking Chevy truck sag heavily. The last time I went, he was shouting at the employees to look here, look, listen after they told him his constant orders basically ran them out of Wendy's chili. I tried to advise him to appear offline, but he told me that he wasn't there to conversate, and threw what looked like PS4 controllers at me. The staff gave him some Diet Pepsi so he calmed down, and they told me his name was Richard. Somebody needs to permaban him from the store. Great atmosphere and staff, and love the chili. However, during my last visit, a larger gentleman named Richard bought $13,000 worth of chili for his liquid diet. As he loaded the gallons of chili into his 4-banger modular Mustang, I tried to buy some off him, but he then threatened to beat my teeth in with a pistol grip, and told me to go to Banworld. Other than this, great. Look here, look, listen. Went to get a cup of that fire Wendy's chili the other day and was told they are out. And matter of fact, they are out every day because a fat man by the name of Richard McGravy Samuelstein looketh listeneth Jordan V6 comes in and demands all of it every morning, and threatens to put the staff in a bucket and send them to Banworld if they don't comply. Needless to say, I ordered the equally fire spicy nugs and left semi-disappointed. Other than that, would recommend 4 out of 5. I came here not too long ago with my girlfriend Brandy. She had a lovely time having a meal with me till this person named Richard came into the building asking for a whole tub of chill. He totally ruined the whole experience. Plus he has a vehicle outside what looked like some salvaged V6 Mustang. I don't know, but that thing really stunk. Please ban him from the store. His name is Richard McGravy Jordan. Look here, look, listen, that Wendy's chili is straight fire, son. Sipping Pepsi in my V6 Stang. Every time I go here and try to order chili, they tell me it's out of stock. Why, you ask? Well, I asked a member of staff, who is a good friend of mine, what's going on, and he told me that a large man named Richard Samuel Jordan, who is roughly 450 pounds, comes in every single day and orders 5 cups at once. Then apparently, Richard will order more chili to be delivered to his house that same day. It's ridiculous. Apart from that, the food is great. Staff are friendly and helpful. Restaurant is clean and it's really good. 5 out of 5. I really enjoy taking my wife Brandy here for the large double meat chili. We love this spot specifically because my wife and I get discounts from the manager Tyrone. Her and Brandy used to date, so it's really good to see that kind of energy in the beautiful, vibrant, loving city of Conway, South Carolina. Amazing service. Pepsi machine is always down though, and my wife really loves her cola. Please fix and I will give 5-star. Look here, either buy the chili or go. I do not smile. I do not laugh. Ban anyone who knows what I said. Big ups Carlitos. A fun experience every needs to have. Ordered some spicy nugs and in the drive-thru I hear some loud V4 Mustang ordering a large, lukewarm chili. Other than the 4-banger being very loud, the suspension was broken on the driver's side, but other than that it wasn't really a special car. I go to eat with my family and about 15 minutes later a man with a chin-strap beard comes in to complain that it wasn't lukewarm enough when he got back to his modular residence and he would take his business to the local Popeyes and have a half-cooked chicken sandwich, which, in his words, I have $13K in extra money, I can eat what I want. Overall the food is great. Staff is wonderful, and a great time. Me and my friend Sam fancied some cuisine this morning, so we hopped in his V2 and drove down to pick up some piping hot chili. Overall it was a very good experience. Every time I come here, they're out of Diet Pepsi and chili. I once saw this very large man pull up in a V6 Mustang, I'm not quite sure how he fits in that car, and order an entire 55-gallon oil drum of chili. And when I asked him if I could buy some off him, he told me he was not here to conversate. I'm guessing he calls ahead of time to know when their chili shipments come in or something. They need to ban him from the establishment. Look here. My experience was terrible. Pulled into the parking lot and was immediately confronted by a man named Richard who ridiculed my vehicle and tires, saying, based off what you're driving it's best you head out, pimp. I feared for my life as he had a maglite in his hand and threatened to beat me with it until my teeth fell out my head. Apparently he sort of runs the place in a roundabout way. IDK. He's a morbidly obese man with chin strap facial hair, so he's pretty hard to miss. But if you would like to see a picture of this awful man, just search his alias name Geordie Jordan Whimpers. Rolled up to the drive-thru to order some real good chili, but the V6 Mustang in front of me took several minutes to order. I rolled up my window to hear what they were saying, and I keep hearing the man in the V6 screaming at the cashier to look and listen. He also said something about buckets, I think. I couldn't help but notice the car was leaning slightly on the driver's side. Other than that, good service, good food. This Wendy's is straight fire. My order is always the same, chili. However, every time I go there I always see the same dude sitting in a EcoBoost Mustang sniffing his fingers. Was eating my chili when a bunch of what seemed like teenage Wendy employees put on a speaker and started playing Miami Blacked. I was very annoyed. Not because it was loud and obnoxious, but everyone knows Banworld or Carrie Diamond is the superior album. Don't get me wrong, Miami Blacked slaps, but it's no Banworld or Carrie Diamond. It wasn't all too bad because it was my son's birthday and the nice employees shouted "Shout out Sean Ranklin" and it made him very happy. Best day ever. I saw the local celebrity Wings of Redemption aka Geordie McRichard IV. He was like in front of me. Sadly he was not there to conversate. I was chowing down on a nice cup of Wendy's chili when I saw this large man, going by the name of Richard Samuelstein Geordie Jordanson, walk up to the counter and yell at the poor workers, demanding they make him more chili as his previous cup wasn't enough to keep him calm. When he got his chili he got in his V6 Mustang and ran over a dog going about 75 miles per hour. I had never been to this particular Wendy's before, but when I walked in and saw Samuel J. Richardson himself I knew I made the right decision. Sadly Mr. Richardson had consumed all of their chili, so that wasn't an option, but I did meet a fine plump woman named Brandy who I then proceeded to fart in her mouth. Look here, look, listen. This place has the best chili around. But recently I was stuck behind this rude customer named Richard Jordan Arnold Samuelson McGravy IV who cut in front of me and ordered the whole store's chili, which meant I missed out on that sweet Wendy's chili. Luckily the machines all went offline and Richard didn't get all of his chili, much to my amusement, as well as the manager Tyrone who I had a Diet Pepsi with later. Richard then threw what appeared to be a PS4 controller at an exercise bike in the store and went on a pity rant about how he can't take this blank anymore, and then as he walked out he banned me and Tyrone from his channel for laughing at him. So many reviews from Mustang's owners. Wonder if Wendy's have tried appearing offline. Last time I visited, a large gentleman was ordering all the chili they had. Fortunately he was stopped from consuming it by a sniper who was literally sitting at the edge of the map. The gentleman proceeded to blame everyone else for this, then punched a hole in the wall and threw controllers at everyone, screaming for them to be banned. A server named Brandy was being railroaded by several gentlemen in a Ford Raptor in the parking lot. Real talk. I went to this Wendy's the other day, and as I was walking in, this rather large fellow cut me off. He seemed in a hurry. I said excuse me, he said I'm not here to conversate and walked in. The employees obviously knew him and they greeted him. His name was Richard. They brought him a riding scooter cause he's a 450-pound man that can barely walk. They already knew his order also. 6 large chilis and 2 large Pepsis. Richard must be a local celebrity or something. Shout out to those employees for being so friendly to him. I got held up in the drive-thru for an hour while some slob in a red V6 Mustang was making his order. Initially, I had issues locating this Wendy's as it seemed that it was appearing offline on my GPS navigation in my salvaged V6 Ford Mustang. Good thing my boy Webby knows his way around Codeway and led us here. Word of advice though, Make sure to be careful when entering and exiting the parking lot, as I almost got into an automobile wreck a few times. The folks who work here all friendly and they always greet me by my birth name, Sam. Everyone pretty much knows me here, as I usually come in around lunch and dinner every day. There were a few instances though where the employees criticized my weight, gaming skill and diet, which put me in my usual bad mood. Once I received my chili though, I always perked right up, so it's okay. The chili was straight fire, son, and flavorful. Sometimes I can even still taste it when I sniff my fingers. This Wendy's along with my homie Dr. Garcia have helped me lose weight. Please keep in mind that I used to be a 450-pound man that could barely walk. Look here. This Wendy's has fire chili, son. After a long day of begging, I like to pick up a large chili or 3 to relax. Sometimes I run out of Pepsi and I'll be forced to drink Diet Pepsi, which I don't even like. The pure bliss and euphoria I get going through the drive-thru in my V6 salvage title shitstang is immeasurable. It's truly a blessing that my surgeon, Dr. Garcia, recommended fast food for my strict 3,500 calorie diet. When Sean makes the chili, it just hits different. I'm often overfilled with joy and feel the urge to shout out Sean and Franklin, the best cooks in the restaurant. Alright guys, that's the stream for today. When me and my friend Sean pulled up to the drive-thru window, we were annoyed to hear that all the chili was gone. A large bald man driving a V6 Mustang nearly caused us to die in an automobile wreck when we were pulling out of the parking lot. Yo, shout out to my boy Sean Ranklin, big ups Liquid Richard, shout out to Lord of the Wings and the homie Gustavo, and shout out to Webby and Carlitos. I really love the chili portions at this location. Normally if I make chili at home, I have a habit to eat the entire pot. Wendy's chili goes great alongside my Diet Pepsi that my grandma bought me in the next room of the trailer. It was supposed to be Pepsi, not Diet. I guess Diet Pepsi will do. One of the things that really stuck out for me at this location is the ability to freely move around my rather large Mustang in the parking lot without worrying about getting stuck between 2 cars, as I'm rather large. Working on it, BTW. The manager Cindy was extremely nice and has started greeting myself as Richard. It gives a truly class act experience to the Wendy's franchise. I will definitely be back to this fine establishment with my Mustang without the worry of Webby joining the session. Look here. Look, listen, this place has the best chili. Me and my grandma came here and I also brought Gunslinger Levi with me. His pistol almost went off in the drive-thru though, lol. I'll be back at least 3 times a week. After getting drilled all day by trolls in my modular home that needs new AC, I like to waddle up to my Mustang V6 salvage title with Michelin tires, puts out over 300 HP BTW. Turn on some Liquid Richard and drive up this Wendy's for some sweet chili, large, and some fries seasoned right. Friendly and clean staff. Big. Look here, look, listen. Richard. Banquet. Pepsi. Listen. A flying diet. So many words of joy come to mind when I think of this restaurant. Not too long ago I was driving in my Mustang. It's a V6. And I decided to treat myself to some chili. Not just any chili, mind you. But let's back up for a minute. Not too long ago I had surgery, real talk, to remove most of my stomach. This surgery cost around $25,000 of my hard-earned cash. What they didn't tell me is that I would have to begin a liquid diet. Oh, the way back from the surgery I was terrified I would have my stitches bust in on the plane. This caused chest pains. Thank you Mike Hawk for the moral support. I began to tell myself that I just can't do it. I couldn't take it no more, man. I needed something to bring my spirits up. That's where the chill comes into play. Once home I could no longer eat solid foods, banquet meals etc. So I began eating Wendy's chili and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. 1010 will eat again. Look here. Look, listen. Me and my boys Richard and Gustavo the homie was mad hungry after playing Rainbow and getting no new subscribers. We decide to hop in my boy Richie's salvaged V6 Mustang. We swing by our favorite stop in Conway. And who do we see but that fine extra THICC babe Brandy. Of course she was there to see my boy Tyrone working the counter. We see that a-hole Sean. But it's all good because Tyrone gets us our chili real quick before Richard can throw his controller. Tyrone is an exemplary employee, on account of Richard and him doing some hood rat stuff with Brandy. So we hop in the swag stang bumping Liquid Richard's mixtape and head back to the trailer park, with some chili for gangster grammar. My boy Richard has been eating chili since he got his weight loss surgery in Mexico, and it's always the best when Tyrone's cooking it up in the back. My new boyfriend, Richie Von Pepsisteen, and I came to this place since we heard it was the best chili in town. Little did I know he was taking me to Wendy's. Boy was I wrong at first. We order 4 small cups of chili with a junior hamburger. Richie and I were impressed that employees knew his name. Chili was succulent and the hamburger was great once it was dipped in ketchup. The manager told us to look here and listen. He gave us coupons for the next time we stop in. I'm starting to like Conway and the area since it reminds me of my brother Kenny. We will stop again and hopefully continue with our weight loss since Dr. Garcia said chili was good for us. Look here, review seeker, this Wendy's is the bomb. A couple years ago, my family died in an automobile wreck, and the only thing that brought me through was the sweet succulent finger. Smellin' good chili here, and the drug dealer in the back has some killer lick. Sapro real talk. I love Wendy's chili. I like to ride and order at least one big chili every 2 or 3 days. I love it. Real talk. Look here. Listen. I'm not a big fan of fast food, but when my favorite celebrity Richard Samuel Jordan and his best friend Sean said it was the best chili around, they were not lying. The chili was top notch, although the lids are pretty slippery and I almost dropped mine. Don't get me started on their Pepsi either. Best around. While here I even met this beautiful girl named Brady. My V6 Mustang will definitely be in that drive-thru more often. I've eaten here for so many years that their burgers have a special place in my heart. My first time was with my girlfriend Brandy. Whenever she visited, we'd go eat a couple burgers and some fries seasoned right. One of her friends there, Tyrone, was always friendly enough to give her a ride home. I eat here nowadays on the regular. I'll hop in M Mustang, sometimes with my friend Sean, bumping Lil Richie as we speed to the drive-thru in my V6. I like to order a few cups of chill so I can eat it the next day or throughout the week. It's great because I can still eat a lot of chili after my surgery. I love the smell of it as I open the bag. Nothing like a fresh batch of chili and a Diet Pepsi back at the trailer with grandma. Last time I dropped my chili by accident when I took it out of the bag though. Can't complain because my fingers smelled good after I cleaned it up. The service is as good as the chili too. The staff recognizes me at this point and always seems to be in a laughing mood. I'm not sure why they think my name is Richard though. Look here, was traveling through Conway and decided to give Wendy's a shot. Little did I know Conway had the finest broads in SC. Met this little plump chick called Brandy in here that was waiting for her order of 5 pounds of fries and a tub of mayo. She looked like a snack, so I started some small talk. Like real talk, 2 minutes later she was gobbling on my BBC in the back seat of my Ford Raptor. Best day of my life. Service was great until the local Conway conman Richard started begging me for surgery money. He then offered me a ride in his salvage V6. Then after I refused, he yelled at me to look here, look, listen, then threw his chili at me. If you see him, be warned. I saw Wings of Redemption here. He is a famous local Conway celebrity. He was driving a bright red Mustang, with spinner rims, and ordering 5 bowls of chili. Looked tasty. Okay service. I went here sometime in March of 2016 and saw none other than Richard Samuel McGravy von Wolfenstein. I was trying to just say hi and he said I'm not here to conversate, and he continued to eat his keg of Wendy's chili. I guess that old saying goes, never meet your heroes. Service was okay. Look here. Look, listen. Me and my friend Richard came here to get some chili after a long day of trying to fix a salvaged V6 Mustang. Have to say there was excellent service. They even let my friend Richard bring in his own Diet Pepsi because they did not serve it. He recently had surgery to lose weight because he couldn't walk and has to follow a strict diet. Saw a man in a brand new Ford Raptor in the parking lot ordering a escort. He was being extremely toxic and was crying about a skin removal surgery. He ordered $30 worth of chili and remained toxic throughout my entire confrontation with him. Will never come back due to this man Richard being so toxic. Shout out to my fellow finger sniffers. Went here with my boy Geordie Jordan. He seemed well known. High-fiving the managers and such. Ordered 6 large chilies. 1 for me, 5 for Geordie. Good stuff. Very tasty. My good friend Richard McGravy Banquet Pepsi Sam Jordan, or most commonly known as Wings of Redemption, local celebrity, recommended this Wendy's. I have to say it's one finest dining establishment you'll find in Conway, SC. My server was Carlitos, who was a fine young gentleman who thoroughly looked and listened to my order of Wendy's chili. Real talk, I hope I visit this Wendy's on my next trip to the USA. Kind regards from Norway. Wendy's PLS ban anyone who doesn't get Diet Pepsi. Sam loves this chili served here. He'll even eat it the next day cold. Sometimes he'll get a big, thick burger with bacon on it, with like, big old melted pieces of cheese, 2 patties, some lettuce, even get some fries seasoned right. Dip that in ketchup. Big ups Wendy's. Richard loves the chili. So succulent and scrumptious. Will definitely stop by again with the Ford Raptor cause the drive-through service was looking and listening to my order the entire time. Big ups Wendy's.